Okay, it is time for the Podkatz with Jason Katz. Today is Wednesday. I usually film on Thursdays. Maybe this will just be the rehearsal one. You know? I don't know. Today's Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. And a lot of news. We got the Henta virus. Kind of scary. Very low stakes, but there is a small chance it could be the next pandemic that's got a drastically larger death rate. Or I don't even know what the rate's called, but like, yeah, I don't want to go back. That was scary the last time. I am not going back. And I don't think Gen Z, or I don't think anyone really wants to go back. We do not have the administration for this. If a new pandemic that's airborne and takes up to 8 weeks to incubate in somebody. And there's no cure. And there's no, like, I don't know. It is confirmed that the Henta virus variation is human to human, which is scary because it's usually not. It's usually an animal disease. But, I mean, it seems there's people working on it. And God hope that we can contain this. Because I am not going back. Like, if you thought we were anti-mask before, I mean, I wasn't anti-mask. I'm just saying, like, the country of the United States was pretty divided at the time. And, you know, I just can't go back to living in fear and inside and checking the news every day and being scared, you know, and dealing with people that don't take it seriously. Like, I guess the president. I don't know. Luckily, it sort of seems, and I don't want to use like Plague Inc. references here, but like, it does sort of seem like it's too infectious. How do I say this? When I play Plague Inc. and I get my disease super infectious, right, dude? Subaru, what the fuck? Anyways, like, if you get it too lethal too quickly without it being comped with the like transmission thingies. You know what I'm talking about? You ever play that game on your phone? Like, they don't, it doesn't work. I always lose if it's too lethal too quickly. I think that's what's, and I don't know anything. I'm not a scientist. Maybe I should have been. But I've seen a lot of TikToks where people are like, we have to sink the ship because they need to they need to stay on the ship. It's like, bro, the wife of the first confirmed case already took a commercial flight. Do you know what commercial means? It means that everyone, like, there's probably over 100 people. And, like, you know, Argentina's questionable. A lot more conspiracy theories. I don't know. Argentina also, like, it's not a rumor. I mean, they did do this, but, like, there was a lot more, like, a lot of Nazis escaped to there. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, like, that is something that happened in Argentina. Another thing that happened in Argentina is Messi, right? He's from Argentina, I believe. And will you guess what's happening this fucking summer? In Seattle, where I live. Not to dox myself. Pretty sure the Space Needle's been in the Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host, Jason Katz. That's just brand recognition right there. Anyways. Yeah, if this shit gets worse, we gotta cancel the World Cup. Sorry. Not gonna die from from what seems like a very scary death. You know? Don't wanna freak anyone out. It does seem like it's a little bit more containable, but only time's gonna tell. I also heard on the news that some town in Massachusetts is locking down due to quarantine, or due to like some sort of bird flu or some shit. I didn't really look into that. Probably should have. I think that's part of the problem, is people were like, you know, I'm not looking into that. It's like, bro, the education system is failed. We failed. And I'm one of them. I'm one of the people that failed. I mean, I didn't fail. I passed. I was like a C. I was like a B- student on average. Okay? But like, did I give a shit? No. Did I try as hard as I could have? No. I was high. I don't even like reading, but like, okay. Look, the point is, in local news, I mean, in more Seattle stand-up news, kind of like clockwork, I had a really good therapy session. You know, I felt like I got a lot of progress. She even said that I got good progress, and that's a good feeling. And I talked about immensely how I need to like be better with hecklers and not go too hard on hecklers, because there's been many times where I've just been too hard on hecklers and I've ruined my vibe. I've ruined the vibe. And it got to the point where I was going after them preemptively. Like, I wasn't even letting them heckle. They were just heckling the people before me. Anyways, like clockwork, last night I was at a mic. It's a monthly mic. Most of the time, the audience is like the owner and his friends, who are like mid-40s, 50s white men. They don't really like me. They don't like my stuff, usually. So I go up, I do my intro to silence, literal silence. Basically, I don't want to bore you with the details, but I go, I don't like you. You're weird. To this guy named Chad. So Chad, if you're watching, very sorry. I went too hard on you. I think it was his birthday too. That's the kind of messed up part. And you know, this morning I reached out to the person that organizes it, because they have a show there, or another show, and they know the owner, and I told them to relay an apology, and I messaged the venue itself on Instagram, and I might call them today, to be honest. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, a lot of it... Alright, first, couple things. First of all, I felt in trouble after I left. I felt like I was gonna get, like, punished. Or, like, asked not to come there anymore. Which I don't think is gonna happen, but, like, also, like, that was a clear sign of, like, my upbringing, which was getting in trouble a lot. Man, it's only been 8 minutes. Jesus Christ. What else? Yeah, I need to find a way to make handling a heckler fun and not let my anger come out. Because honestly, I think I was angry because I felt ignored. And I feel like I felt abandoned because, like, no one was with me on the jokes. But, like, now thinking about it, most people in the room, I mean, it's not the strongest opener, but it's also, like, people have definitely heard it. Like, most of that room has probably heard it. To be honest with you, I've been skewing a little bit more queer when it comes to my audiences. And I don't like white old dudes. I don't like white people, white males, usually over the age of 45. They're not nice people. Historically speaking. I am white, you know I'm one of them, but I was never included. I was like white enough that like the people of color thought I was part of the group, but like I wasn't white enough because like I am a Jew, where like the people who were white and actually in the like white, like, you know, sort of upper class like consider me one of their own. Maybe it has something to do with me hating my dad. I don't know. The point is as a comedian, I need to do better. I need to do better. I need to make a way to include the heckler and get them to stop respectfully so I don't ruin the vibe in the room. Because this has happened within the last week, this has happened like 3 times. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Not the best. I will say that things are getting better. Like, I'm not thinking about that woman anymore as much. I mean, I kind of am, but like less, which is baby steps, and it's good to acknowledge the baby steps, right? Because that's how you get the baby to walk. You go, yay, you're taking your steps. That's why the first steps are so important in childhood. I guess that would be parenting. Either way, I have a show tonight in Tacoma. I mean, it's a mic spot. I have a mic spot tonight in Tacoma, and I think I'm going to try to double dip that club at the end if I can get there in time. Not super late on the list, so like it seems within reason. We'll see what happens there. Depends on who's hosting. What else? Anything good happen? I did a feature at Tony V's. Shout out Tony V's. That's great. That was a good place. I mean, no, there wasn't any audience there that week. I mean, there usually is. But like, I got to run 15 minutes, and the night before I ran 15 minutes to a heckler as well. But like, honestly, everyone kind of hated that heckler. Like, the people that went were like, man, I fucking hate her. I don't know. Look, the point is that I need more opportunities to do more time, and I do feel like I need to work. I need to work more on rehearsing. The intro book to acting, the first book where everyone's like, "Oh, you haven't read this?" It's kind of like the Catcher in the Rye of the acting world. It's called An Actor Prepares. It was written, I believe, in Russia in like the 1910s. And it's basically this guy, Stanislavski's journal. And again, I'm not a good reader. I've tried to read that shit. It's so boring. Like, the first time I read probably like 2 chapters, maybe, and then skimmed stuff. But I did have a quiz on it, and he did prolifically go over the answers. So I know something about Stanislavski, but the gist of Stanislavski is to develop a skill and rehearsal strategy so that when you perform on stage, you can perform the same way every night. You know, if you do X one night, you can do X the next night the same way. And that is a skill I do not have as a comedian. Every single time I tell a joke, it's always different. Maybe that's just who I am as a comic. Maybe I just haven't practiced the perfection of word for wordness. I also think my biggest strength is riffing and improv. But like, that does not work. I mean, maybe it will. But like, in traditional senses of performing, I've noticed the people that rehearse their jokes over and over and over again to get it perfect usually are the ones getting booked. And I do need to prepare something that's gonna do it. Like, and honestly, I've talked about this before. I had a stalker. It started October 2024, the end of October 2024, and it didn't really stop until like March or April 2025. But before that, I was rehearsing at least 2 times before I would go and do comedy. And then I got the stalker, and I kind of got overwhelmed and more in a defense mode and more in a stressed out environment in my own head, and I stopped rehearsing. I was panicked. I was focusing more on like, oh my God, is he gonna show up? Also, update on the stalker thing, since I was talking about it before where I'm like, oh, he seems to be going to mics. Yeah, he stopped doing that. So it's either he just wanted to be like, hey, Jason, I'm still here. Or he just, I don't know, doesn't have it. I don't know his life. The point is that for the first time on Sunday or Monday, I believe, I rehearsed like a 20-minute. I rehearsed for 20 minutes. And I didn't have the strength or energy to rehearse again a second time. And I think, it's a muscle. You also have to have the time to do that, right? Because what I do is I do it, I record it, I listen to the recording. I would do it again a second time. I would listen to the recording. And then I let the third one be the performance. So if for a 20-minute set, I was practicing for a 15-minute set, but I have a 20 coming up, so I figured I'd do my 20. It's like a rough draft of a 20. It still needs to make sense. But like basically, I went over 20 a little bit, and I didn't get all my jokes in. So I know I have more than 20. But like to do that, you need like probably an hour, right? Yeah, like over an hour, because like 20 minutes to record, 20 minutes to listen, 20 minutes to record, and then 20 minutes to listen again. Usually the second time I'm listening in the car on my way. But again, it's a muscle. Everything's a muscle that I need to get better at. A lot of people like to joke that like comedy podcasts are about doing comedy and stuff like that. And I think that's so true, but like my advice and stuff like that is not going to be like, you should do this, because I don't know. I've only been doing this for 3 years. I've said this on the Podkatz again. I'll say it, or before, I'll say it again. You're not really considered a new comic until you're like at least 8 to 12 years in. The professionals who've been doing it for over 20 years, right? Like Louis, Chris Rock. If like Chris Rock wouldn't consider me a new comic, he would consider me green. In the industry, green is like, I don't know. People use colors, like, because like a blue room is like a room you can do like darker stuff, or maybe it's cleaner. I don't remember. Either way, green is new. And in my society, the open mic society, green is like less than a year. But in actuality, we're all fucking green. Even our best. Like, some of the best people I know who are opening and headlining, like, they open for real people. Like, someone I respect is this guy. I'm not going to name him, but he's been doing it for about 10 years. He's open for, a lot of people. But I think he's only done it for like 9 or 10 years, and that is new. It makes sense, right? Like, you're not gonna let a plumber, like, there's no such thing as like a pro plumber after 2 years. Maybe you're like a decent plumber, but like you're not like the crane operator. That's a stupid metaphor, but like, you get what I'm saying? Like, I like comparing it to a construction zone, because there's a lot of people, especially in the less than a year category, that are like, they go in and on their first day they're like, I want to drive the crane. And it's like, dude, you gotta be at least 5 years in to do the crane. You're gonna be shoveling gravel, And I think the best metaphor, or not metaphor, is like, it's mainly men doing this, and it's mainly new comics under a year, usually under 6 months. But they go, I want to handle topics like race, sexism. And it's like, it's basically going like, I want to learn calculus. And it's like, you don't know how to add. You don't even know that there's like 6-digit numbers. So you got to learn like numbers and letters and adding, subtraction, multiplication, division. You got to learn like algebra, and then you got to learn calculus, or pre-calc, and then calculus. Right? Like a third grader, unless they're very smart, can't just go into a fucking They can't just go into a college level math class, right? I mean, that's happened, I guess, but like, you know, not in America. Not in a long time in America. I mean, I'm sure they do to some extent, but like, definitely more, I don't want to be a racist, definitely more common in Asia. What, are you going to tell me I'm wrong? They clock us in mathematics. They clock us. It's not clocking to you. Holy shit, Bobby Lee's coming to the Emerald Queen Casino? Dude, a lot of people shit on Bobby Lee. But Bobby Lee, to me, was never a stand-up. I mean, I knew he did stand-up and shit, but like Bobby Lee to me is Mad TV. Okay? Bobby Lee to me is the Asian stereotype that they used on Mad TV. Bobby Lee to me is the guy that filmed 24 with Bobby Lee. Okay? I'm well versed in Bobby Lee. Everyone shits on his stand-up, and I was watching a podcast, not the Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host Jason Katz, but I was watching a podcast. I was watching his podcast, you know, the one he does with Andrew Santino, but it was the one, I usually only listen to it if the guest is cool, and that guest was Louis, who again, I'm not, you know, I'm not the big, I mean, I am a big Louis fan, but like, you know, unacceptable behavior. Either way, we digress. But Louis and Bobby, like Bobby was telling them how he's preparing for like his first major special. I don't know if he has a special before that, but I think it was his first. And this was like December of like 5 months ago. Louis was doing like a book tour sort of podcast marketing thing because he wrote a book. But basically, Bobby Lee was talking to him, and he was like, it gets in my head, people don't really respect me as a comedian, you know, like basically he's saying, like, people see me as the podcast guy or the Mad TV guy, not a comedian, and it gets in his head. And like, first of all, there's nothing wrong with being the Mad TV guy. There's nothing wrong with being the podcast guy. But I would imagine as a comedian, you would want people to like your stand-up. And Louis was helping him out with jokes and stuff like that, and that was great. And you could see Bobby like get a little bit more confident throughout the discussion because he was like talking about how he's preparing for the special and stuff like that. And he's like perfecting it. And honestly, like, I don't know. When you read comments about Bobby Lee on the internet, they're always just like, yeah, Bobby Lee's not funny. No, Bobby Lee's funnier than you. Okay, I'll put this in layman's terms. I have two examples. One, as a baseball player, right? You want to be known as a baseball player. But if you're only known as like a pinch hitter or like a pitcher, right? Like, that's not what, I mean, maybe this is a bad metaphor, but like, you want to be known as a baseball player. And two, fuck, I think I forgot the second one. Dead air. I don't know. If the second one comes to me, I'll remember. Anyways, like, I do think that Bobby Lee is funny. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. There's this guy who made a video. He was an NBA player. I forget his name. He was a white guy. And like, you know, he was more of like a transitional G League kind of player. You know, like he played pro in the NBA, but I don't think he got much minutes. I don't know. He was like, apparently he was like really big in college. Either way, he was like, I may not be better than LeBron. I may not be better than most of the people in the NBA, but I'm better than you. And that's how I feel about Bobby Lee as a stand-up comedian. He may not be Louis C.K., George Carlin, but he's closer to George Carlin than you will ever be. And the guy said that about LeBron. He's like, LeBron may be way better than me, but like compared to you, I am 1,000 times better than you. I don't know why I'm getting so mad. Like, I need to calm down. I feel extra tired because I think I've been talking more per minute than I had. Like, usually I kind of lollygag in my speech. But we're at 25 minutes and it feels like I've been doing this for 50 minutes. Anyways, Bobby Lee is way closer in terms of comedic genius than you are, the average listener. I mean, honestly, I think right now most people that watch this in 2026, May 2026, are comedians that are my friends. But if you're not a comedian and you are watching this, yeah, the metaphor rings true. Because like you can make a joke in conversation, and I hear people talk about this all the time. Like when they go to mics, they're like, oh, I'm funny in conversations. It's like, yeah, you are. You're probably really funny in conversations. That's not comedy. That's like, I don't know. That's like when they get a fan to like make a half-court shot for like $1 million or a Ferrari or some shit. Following with the sports analogy, I was watching this. It was like a social media manager asking, I think it was the Detroit Tigers, some Midwest team. And they were like, do you think the average person, like a normal person that's like not playing, could like get a hit off of like the worst MLB pitcher? And they were like, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, honestly, you could change the question to like the worst college pitcher, right? You could say like, okay, maybe not the worst high school pitcher, but like, I remember stopping baseball when I was 11 because I was like, dang, I don't think I can't hit off of these guys. That's when I pivoted career. I wanted to be a baseball player when I was like 9. That was like my first, like, I want to be famous. I want to be a baseball player. And then I realized like I can't run, nor can I like coordinate catches. I also sucked at sliding. I never slid. I don't know. Anyways, that's the Tacoma Narrows. Look how pretty that is. What was I gonna say? I think we're gonna wrap up, but like, yeah, the same way, the same metaphor. Like, do you think the average person can like write a 5-minute bit or like a 3-minute bit, 1-minute bit on one topic and have like a decent reaction from the crowd? Probably not. Maybe some might get lucky, but I don't think if you did 1 minute of comedy as like a normal person, just talking, I don't think you would get the reaction of someone like me. Someone like me? No, I'm just kidding. But like, you know, someone like me where like I'm like putting in effort to write jokes and stuff. I don't know. Maybe that's the subjectivity of comedy. Okay, final thoughts. The person that inspired me to become a comedian was George Lopez. And I remember listening to his album a lot as a kid and just thinking it's funny, but I was really just laughing along with the audience because most of the topics were like, I got abused as a kid. You know, that like boomer Gen X thing where they're like, man, kids today have it so soft. I was abused and I'm a Latino, machismo stuff. And it's like, I never related to that. I'm just saying, like, George Lopez moving his show to Nick at Night is what inspired me to become a comedian. Also, George Lopez has the best white voice. He's like, oh my God. I like Chappelle's white voice, but I think George Lopez's white voice is hilarious. And what else did George Lopez do? My favorite scene, he didn't really do much acting, but like my favorite scene with George Lopez, it's in Balls of Fury, and he goes, like the main character, I can't remember the main actor's name, but the main character was like, he wakes up from like a nightmare and he's like, and they're sleeping in the same hotel room, and George Lopez wakes up picks up his gun and like reactionarily, or like with like, you know, like he's not thinking about it. He just empties a clip into the floor. That's so it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Balls of Fury is a very slept on movie. All right, comment question of the day, since we just passed 30 minutes. Do you think I'm funny? No, I'm just kidding. This Podkatz with Jason Katz, with your host Jason Katz, has been brought to you by the letter W, the number 4. As always, NordVPN, until I get a real sponsorship from them. Comment question of the day. Do you think an MLB player, do you think the average person could get a hit off of like the worst MLB pitcher? Leave your comments or leave your response in the comments down below. Like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, and you know, maybe one of your comments will get a PS5. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm not giving you a PS5. I have a PS4. Anyways, this has been the Podkatz with your host, Jason Katz. And I will see y'all next week. Have a good rest of your week, everybody. Goodbye.